host with the most, Willie Beeman. We're back in the building once again. We're here for another fire series. I call this Poetry in Motion, man, where I have the ability to sit down with some amazing spoken word artists, man, from the DFW METROPLEX. But I ain't gonna be before you long. I'm gonna get to our guest, who I have. She's a great sister of mine, man, somebody I've known for a very, very long time. She represents the beautiful city of Fort Worth, Texas, but also spent most of her childhood in the state of Oklahoma. Well known across the DFW METROPLEX for her raw, authentic, and bold wordplay as a spoken word artist. She also has written a book entitled Some Hurts Are Beyond Tears, the Memoirs of a Foster Child. Founder of the Growing Into Greatness Ministries, where through Christ, assisting youth of all ages to grow into the fullness of who they are. Faithful member of the Christ Cathedral Church, where she serves as a youth activities director and fine arts director. Forest Hill Evan family, y'all make some noise, man, for my big sis from another mister, Miss Glennette Nelson.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Okay. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Let's see, my poetry journey started a long time ago. I grew up in foster care. And so in foster care, a lot of times, you get depressed, you be down. And so writing was my way, one of the ways I used to cope. So I wouldn't be out there fighting, stealing, ending up in jail. I decided to write. And so a lot of times when I write, it comes out of emotion. When I'm sad or I'm down or I'm depressed, I write, and I think a lot of us do. And so one of the pieces that I'm going to do for you today is based off of one of your guests, Nia Imani. She did this spoken word a couple of years ago about her testimony. And in doing that, it kind of like triggered something in me. And these words just started coming. It was things I had never talked about. Nobody really ever knew. So it was close to my heart, and I really, really found it hard to share. But I did, and today I'm going to share it for the second time. So it's called Waiting Room. Excuse me, miss. I was in the waiting room when you gave your testimony. And what I realized is that we have an enemy in common. While you were being called to the office again, I was being put out the only home I've ever known. While you were shaking with anxiety and fear over something no one ever wants to hear, I was shaking in dread. Because we all know what happens to little girls that have no home and no one to claim them. I think our souls passed each other by. See, my soul left me a long time ago in a dingy motel room, ripped away by brutal force. It fled, unable to find its way back home. See, I think we have an enemy in common. He stalked me since I was a little girl. I know his MO. He attacked me when I was too young to protect myself, and while others looked the other way. I cried for my father too, but he didn't answer. Excuse me? Did you say our father came for you? I was calling him too, but I guess he was too busy helping you. Left me to go from foster home to foster home. Left me to be touched, violated, and maimed. Physically, mentally, and emotionally scarred while I constantly called out his name. Daddy, where are you? Daddy, what did I do? Daddy, please come see about me. But I guess daddies can't be in two places at the same time. Glennette, nobody wants you. Glennette, nobody cares. Glennette, you might as well give up. I waited for him. When most would have laid down and died, I waited for him. When the pain became too much to hide, I waited for him. Certainly he heard my screams. Certainly he was weeping for me. You thought of Lazarus. I guess I was more like Hannah. She called God, and it took years for him to call back. So for years I waited, drowning in a sea of self-doubt. For years I waited, unable to pull myself out, bound by the chains of trauma, bound by the chains of self-destruction, bound by the chains of fear. They told me I was going to die in this. They told me I had no value, no purpose, and no worth. Certainly he's forgotten about me. They told me I would never be free, but then I heard your voice say he died for me, for every mental disorder, for every emotional scar, for every unnatural seed that was sown. And after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace, who has called you to be his eternal glory in Christ, will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. He rose with all power. He broke the chains and called me by name. O Judah, lift up your head, for the Lord goes before you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Be not discouraged, for here comes the glory. Anxiety, here comes the glory. Depression, here comes the glory. Doubt, here comes the glory. Fear, here comes the glory, for our Father is here. Thank you. So that was something that was really close to my heart. And sometimes when things are that close, you find it hard to deal with. So growing up in foster care for a long time, I had these conflicting emotions about my parents, about my family. And so for a while I was like, okay, I'm okay. Sometimes we think things are healed, but they're not necessarily healed. Sometimes they're just repressed. And so a couple of years ago, my mother died, and I felt some kind of way. And I was like, I don't understand why I feel this way. I hadn't seen her in over 30 years, and I just didn't get it. And so what I did is I sat down and I wrote. And this was a poem that I was feeling that day that I found out my mother died. For years, I've tried not to be so angry, but the anger crashes against my soul like the untamed sea against the rocks on the sea cliff. It's wearing me down. For years, I've thought the words, it was better this way. Who knows what I'd become if you stayed? I know what I would not have become. This cold, angry soul. This woman that finds it hard to connect. This woman that sees the world through cracked, broken shards. This woman who is held together by the thoughts of a better life and the love and hopes of others. As you lay dying, my hope dies with you. The hope that one day you'll make me understand. Understand your abandonment. Understand your lack of protection. Understand your lack of love. I was your first baby girl, but to those in your world, I do not exist. You took what was my due and lavished it on the lives of others. My soul burns with the rage of 1,000 suns. I want to hate you, but deep down where we keep secrets that go with us to the grave, I love you. I want to despise you and say I don't care, but I've never been good at lying to myself. I want to forgive you, but I don't know how. I want to feel your arms wrapped around me. I want to hear your whispered words of love in my ear, but it's too late now. Your journey is coming to an end. I must move on. No closure, never knowing what I meant to you. To me, you are an unfulfilled promise, a never finished story, a relationship destination unknown. May you transition, be peaceful and pain-free. Sleep with the angels, Mommy. So those were personal to me. But what I found probably about 10 years or so ago, I found spoken word. Now there's a difference between poetry and spoken word. Poetry is more rhythmic, rhyming, a lot more personal, from the depths of your soul. Spoken word is more explosive, I like to say, more hip-hop era. And so I have a friend, and I love his poetry. And he wrote something and gave me permission to do it one day. And that's when my love of spoken word was born. And so this one is titled, It Is Well With My Soul. Although my job just laid me off, and my boyfriend just let me go. Although my car ran out of gas and my tank did not let me know. Though I've got water in my phone and I left my keys far from home, man, I'm not tripping because I know that it is well with my soul. Although I've held on to what's left me and I've wasted so much time. Although my rent's due and my checks bounce and my pay's nowhere in sight. Although my fam argues and it seems one of them might lose control, I'll just hold on another day and say that it is well with my soul. Although I'm tempted because he's cute and I made the same mistake. Although I don't like where my life's at and although I need a break. Although it feels like I'm gonna give up really soon or I'll explode. The fire's not too much for me to take, man. It is well with my soul. Although I'm in this grocery store and I can only afford bread. Although I just looked up and realized that it seems that my dreams are dead. Although my past stays in my head and I don't have nowhere to go. And it feels like nobody wants me. Hey, it is well with my soul. God loves me, God wants me, and told me that it's gonna be all right. Although my car is now my house, he told me to keep up the fight. Although I just failed once again, he told me to abide in him. Although hell just broke loose in my life, he told me I'm gonna win. Although I'm hurt, he is a healer. Though I'm broke, he's a provider. When I'm sad, he's joy. I'm stressed, he's peace. I'm freezing, he's a fire. I'm hateful, he's love. I'm dirty, he's pure. I'm empty, he's whole. Long as I got Christ, it is well with my soul. I'm hungry, he's bread. He's life when I'm dead. He is cure, I am cancer. I'm ache, he's rest, I'm worse, he's best. I'm question, he is answer. He's king, savior, help, hope, life, God, love, peace, joy, and purpose. And no matter what trials come through them, if I see him, it's worth it. He can help me get back up. My pain is only for a moment. I want to let go and break down, but he'll help me keep my focus. I'll tell my heart yes when everything around me screaming no. And through this turmoil, I'll claim that it is all well with my soul. Though I've been raped, here's my worth. He wants me when nobody wants me. He can heal my broken heart and set me free because he loves me. It is well. I'm homeless. It is well. I'm hungry. It is well. I'm brokenhearted, weary, wounded, battered, scorned, and in a cell. And I need him. Oh God, I need you every hour of every day. Revive me again with your glory. Humbly on my knees I pray. I know that you can make a way no matter what life throws and hurls. And I'll take comfort in the fact that nothing outranks you in this world. And though trials come, and if folks ask me, will I make it? I don't know. But my God's plan is perfect through it. So it is well with my soul. Whew. Thank you, thank you. My eyes is burning. Excuse me just a minute. Okay, so now this last piece, I love this piece. This last piece is called mattress. You know, a lot of times we go through things and God tells us to do something and we're like, you know, why? Why do I want to do this? You know, things are going wrong and I don't want to go that way or I don't want to do this, but you know, sometimes if we gave up on if God gave up on us like we gave up on people, we'd be in so much trouble. Okay. Grace. Grace is pulling up in front of that rundown apartment complex where those dudes outside who look as if they are cooked with the Pyrex and that neighborhood that turns into a jungle after dark. He moves his will into the parking spot and parks his car to park. Brothers get killed here every week. Sisters get robbed here every day. If he walks inside, it's a wrap because nobody knows his face. He sees the dudes standing outside and reads the warnings on their tattoos. This is not a place he wants to walk inside of, but he has to. He moves toward the dingy walls toward the dingy halls with stains on the wall. He starts to search through the dingy hall with folks who stand there like firing squads. Each corner turns feels like a trap. This maze is made unsafe with flaws. Stains line the hallways like a map. The towels stick to both his feet. He passes rooms that are dim like jail cells. People stare. He feels the heat. He reaches the stairs and sees the feet. 3 men sit there with eyes on him. He drops his head and takes a step and starts to march up through the seats. He feels one press him, asking questions like a shark looking at meat. He's got to reach this 3rd floor, though. He can't let obstacles compete. He sees them passing, and they finally pass him, and they start laughing. He looks back and sees them stand, but he keeps walking with the rail wobbly under his hand. He has a mission and a plan, and he can't give way to the fright. The roaches on the wall, the blood and vomit cover blinking lights. The sights, the smells, the sounds, the black eyes of the women that pass, the missing teeth on those who lie down in this hall that's lined with trash. He reaches the landing and hear cracking. Dudes are fighting in the halls. Cussing echoes through the building as kids play with broken dolls. The 3rd floor is here. He's in the hall. The cold wall echoes with loud music. He asks someone where room 316 is, and they stare back clueless. Finally, he reaches the unlocked doors and hears laughter inside. The reason he's here is for this. The handle turns. This is the time. TV blares as he walks inside. He stands there laying through the strife, because laying right there on the bed next to somebody was his wife. His heart, laying half dressed and cold on a mattress that smells of piss, with eyes redder than dripping blood and lips chapped from that dude she kissed, still drunk. She looks at him with tears and shame that no scissors could cut through. But he looks back at her unwashed face and tells her, I still love you. Her eyes blur. She says she's worthless, but he tells her he still wants her. She says that she's a lost cause and thinks that he should give up on her, that she's ugly, that she's evil, can't stop cheating. She feels trapped, but he tells her that he's right there with her in it, and he wants her back. He starts to lead her down the stairway, past the hallways with the sound, turns the front door to the place and stomps their feet across the ground. The fresh air hits her that she hasn't felt for days. They run like kids, but he looks back and notices that she still has her other hand in his. Isn't it crazy that he's with her, but she won't loosen that grip? Isn't it crazy he still loves her and still wants relationship? Isn't it crazy he forgave her, though she's full of wax and dust? Isn't it crazy? Yes, it is. But that is how Christ is for us. I don't know if you understand it, but my friends, we are that bride, and I can't speak for you, but I have been unfaithful. I have lied, and I have a feeling that that apartment had rooms where each of us rent. And if it weren't for Christ, our dry souls would be stuck paying the rent. What's really crazy is he searched under the darkest of cold roofs, and Jesus didn't come for perfect smiles. He came for prostitutes, for those outside with cardboard boxes on a cold and empty ground. He searched through crumbling doors and rotten walls, and that's where I was found. I'm not that king with gold and silver or silk pants over my legs. I'm that found prodigal son who was about to eat with pigs. I'm not the one who never ran off at the threat of sword or lion. If you look into my past, I've been that Peter who denied him, and it's only by his grace that he helps me to stand up tall and helps me fight against the sin that had ensnared me for so long. This poem is for the former cowards, for the ones who need his grace, the ones he searched for, who were unworthy to look him in the face, the ones who ran off, who he followed to the darkest of cold tombs. He turned our sore muscles to strength and gave us mansions for our tombs. He wiped our tears, took our needles, kissed our track marks, gave us water, helped our cold sweat, soothed our curses. I was empty. He's my father, never left us nor forsook us. Right now we might look our best, but who remembers the point where Christ came and found us in our mess? Who knows they didn't fix themselves? Who has a reason to be grateful? I made imprints in that dirty hall, and that's why I'm so grateful. This poem is for the former cowards, for the ones who just realized that he's there. Do like I did. Take his hand, get out that life and leave it. Don't look back, going back, trying to retrieve it. And be like that bride who ran away from home and let go of all your other loves for him and say, please, take me home. And that is the end. Thank you all for inviting me. Thank you.
Y'all give my sis Glennette, man, a round of applause, man, for her greatness. rawness, her authenticity, all that good stuff, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being on, big sis.
Got me nervous.
It's cool. Going back to, you mentioned growing up in foster care and in that system. How was your childhood growing up? I know in your bio you said you were raised in the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah. So let's see. I went into the foster care system actually. I went into a couple of foster homes when I was like 5 or 6. My father, at one time, he drove us off the side of a mountain in California because I'm originally from California.
Okay.
And because they couldn't find my mother, they put us in a foster home in California. So that was my first taste of foster care. Who knew that just a couple of years later, I would be in there forever, it seemed like. So when I was 8, I lived in Baltimore, Maryland. Wow. And that's where I went into foster care. My mom took me to the foster care place and left and didn't come back. And so one of the things about foster care is that they want to reunite you with family. And so I ended up going to Tulsa, Oklahoma because they found a cousin that would keep me. And so I went to her when I was 8. But by then I had been traumatized. I had been through all kinds of things. And she didn't know how to deal with that because she didn't really have children that she had raised of her own.
Exactly.
And so when I was 10, she put me back in foster care.
Wow.
And so that's when I started my journey in Tulsa in the foster care system. So while I was there, I was in 36 foster homes, 4 group homes, many shelters, many detention centers. So yeah, I was a runaway. So
wow.
Yeah.
How was it, trying to navigate through all those different seasons of your life? So going here, going there, going state to state. How did you handle that?
What I found is that kids can be resilient. It was hard at first, but what happens is going through things like that, you build up these walls.
Yeah.
Because hey, they say they want you, they say they want to help you, but really, do they want you? And so what I have found is that when I was in foster care, a lot of people did it for the money. $1 went a long way back then.
Yeah.
Not so much now, but it went a long way then.
Yeah.
And so these people would take in multiple foster kids because the money was good. And because there were so many foster kids and not enough caseworkers, they didn't really come and check on you like they should. So a lot of times, you ended up in abusive foster homes, abusive situations. You would leave one abusive home and go to another one. And so it was hard. It made me not trusting. It made me angry all the time. So I was an angry, bitter, fighting teenager.
Wow. So through all of those experiences, trying to navigate life, trying to find who you are, all these different places, are there specific experiences or events in your life that have significantly impacted your writing style?
I would think so. Because of all that, I tend to come from a deeper, darker place when I write. If I'm happy, it's not easy for me to write.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
if
I'm happy
sense.
and I'm going forward with life and things are going good, it is not easy for me to write. There have been times I haven't picked up a pen for years, and then boom, something happens. A heartbreak, a bad relationship, a trigger this, a trigger that, and then I'm just like, oh my God. I'm just pouring out. It's just like coming out like throw up, so yeah.
Wow. No, that's a very valid point, man. You think about back in the day when they were taking photos, in order for a photo to be developed, it had to be placed in the dark before it can be presented in the light. And so that's very powerful. A lot of us do find inspiration when we're going through those dark seasons of our life, that God can do amazing things. I know you mentioned finding inspiration from Nia. Shout out to Nia.
Hey, Nia.
Shout out to Nia. You found inspiration from your mother passing away. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, what role does your identity play in your poetry, and how do you think it influences your voice?
Honestly, I started poetry because I have I have what you call social anxiety.
Hmm.
Now, I have a friend, his name is CJ. Hey, CJ. He says there's no such thing as social anxiety. I beg to differ because standing up there, even though ain't nobody in here, I was like, okay, there's people looking at me. I have anxiety.
Right.
And so I never wanted to get up and do poetry. I never wanted to get up and speak because I get scared. And when I get scared, I get nervous. So I started doing this as a way to help me overcome my fear. And so, what was the question? I forgot. Just say quick. As you can see, I'm a rambler.
It's cool. Basically, just saying, what role does your identity play in your poetry, and then part of that, how do you think it influences your voice?
There you go. So, my identity was a scared, nervous person.
Right.
And so, what I started to do is just like when people are singers, they have people that write for them.
True.
Because I wasn't sure in my identity about the things that I wrote, I would find people that had wrote things that triggered something in me. And then I would ask them, can I perform this? Is it all right for me to do that? And they were like, yeah, sure. Because most times writers don't like to perform.
That's
so
good.
They write for other people.
Yeah.
They like to be the behind the scene. And so I prayed about it, and I asked God to steer me in a direction that not only would what I was saying minister to me, but it would minister to other people.
Yes.
And it would be people that probably would never hear something like that because I wasn't ready to put myself out there.
Wow.
And so that's how that started. And then as I started doing that, people was like, oh, that sounds like something you wrote. And I was like, nah, it wasn't nothing I wrote, And they were like, well, you're still anointed or blessed to be able to take something that's not yours and turn it into yours.
That's good.
To say it in a way that people get blessed by it, And so I prayed that God would give me the courage and the words to start with my own things, And so my journey was just to help other people. That's all I've ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
Is to be a healing help for other people. Get it?
Yeah, I get it, yeah. Going back to, I know you mentioned different words and different things that you're trying to use to get through your journey, the childhood, all those different things. And even the poetry pieces that you just performed, how do you navigate the balance between vulnerability and strength in your writing? Because I'm pretty sure when you're sitting down writing or taking notes, you're like, gosh, should I say this? Should I say that? Or are people going to perceive me? Or how will they perceive me if I deliver this message? And so how do you balance that thin line between your vulnerability and strength?
Well, at first, I just wouldn't do it. I just refused. I wasn't going to get out there and do it. But then I had to realize in maturing that a lot of times that the things that we go through is not necessarily about us. Sometimes we are the only God that people will see.
True.
Or we are the only healing that people will see. And so I had to decide, is my pride more important than helping somebody? Is my fear of what somebody might say about me more important than helping somebody else get their healing? So sometimes you have to be vulnerable, open, because a lot of times we go through life and all we see is the end result of people's trauma, people's bad experiences. All we see is the good part. What happened at the end? Now I'm good, I got this good job, I'm looking good,
yeah.
But we don't see the journey. And so we lose a lot of our young people because they don't see the journey.
That's
all
good.
They see is what I look like right here. This is a full bottle of water.
Exactly.
They don't see when this bottle was empty and crushed up and thrown away like trash. And so they feel like, I can never be like that because I've done this, this, and this. I have this project, and it's called Broken for Purpose.
Yes, I was going to get into that.
Yes. And, for so long, I was like, I'm broken. I can't do this. God is not going to use me. Nobody's ever going to listen to me. All they're going to see is this traumatized, abused, somebody that, you're looking at somebody that only has an 8th grade education.
Wow.
I finished the 8th grade and that was it. I got kicked out of school. They told me don't come back. You can't come to no Tulsa public schools never again. So I was expulsed, not expelled. And so I would go and sit at the library and I would read, and everything I learned on my own. I would read, and things would just knowledge hungry. And so I was like, I don't have an education. I don't have a degree. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. God is never going to use me. And I came across something, and it said that even broken crayons color.
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah.
Right?
I've seen that.
And so, we're all broken for something. And so I was like, okay, maybe I'm broken for a purpose. Maybe everything that I went through was for a purpose. God, what is it? What is it? Because I didn't see. I was just like, I was sulking. I was set on, woe is me.
Yeah.
And I got this job. 2006 is when this turned around for me. I got this job in an outpatient psychiatric hospital working with adolescents, 13 to 17. I don't know how I got the job. I don't remember putting in the application. The lady that hired me, you needed to have a bachelor's degree. She interviewed me. I told her my story. She hired me, and 2 weeks after she hired me, she quit.
Oh my.
So I was like, okay. So I worked with these kids, 13 to 17, and I worked at that job for 2 years. And what I found is that sharing my story with them helped me heal, and it helped them realize that they weren't alone. And so the kids used to call me Miss G. That's what they called me, Miss G, Miss G, Miss G. And these were some kids that were affluent. They came from affluent backgrounds, affluent homes, and they were always, you don't understand, this happened to me, and blah, blah, blah. Baby, I got you. Give me something else, because I had to let them know that you're not the only person that bad things happen to.
Yes.
And it's not the end. Because a lot of these kids dealt with suicidal ideations, depression, cutting, all these mental issues they dealt with because they thought that they were alone. And that's when I first got the inkling of, okay, Glennette, you were broken for this. This is what you were made for. And I shared some of my stories with them. Not everything, because you don't want them to think it's glamorized. And, because me and my friends would hitchhike from Oklahoma to California when we was 14. So, but it wasn't always nice and roses. And so you have to, I had to share that with them. But they were like, oh, you should write a book about this. You should share your story. And I was like, I'm really not really sure about that because, people, we as people will judge you in a heartbeat, whether it was your fault or not. They'd be like, I don't know, And so I was real leery about it. And I would start writing. You got another question before I go?
I'll go ahead, sis. You the guest, sis. Tell your story.
I would start writing, and as I wrote, I would start having nightmares.
Wow.
I would start having night terrors. It was crazy, no pun intended. But I had a roommate, and I would wake up in the middle of the night and I'd be on the move, like somebody was like after me. I'd wake up and I'm beating on walls. I mean, like crazy stuff.
Wow.
And so I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this. Let me sit this down. And when I stopped, that stopped. So there was, it took me 7 years to write my book. It took me 7 years because of things like that.
Yeah.
The trauma would be revisited, and nobody wants to be with somebody that's crazy. So I mean, I would stop. But then I was in church because I found my church. I found my church in 1999. I've been in my church for 25 years.
Ooh, 99.
I know.
I was 10 years old.
You was what?
I was 10.
So. So I found my church in 99. I was 25. Ooh, am I that old? You're making me feel old.
You still look good, sis.
Thank you. I can be fabulous. Anyway, so I found my church, Christ Cathedral, in 1999, and I joined this church. And I'd never been in a church the size of it. I come from a little small,
Me too.
Little small churches with 10 people,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so it was all these people. And and when nobody talked to me. And I was like, I felt some kind of way. And I was going to quit. I was like, I'm going to go to a church where people going to talk to me. But then I was like, you know what? They going to talk to me. So I made them talk to me. I know, weird. But it was the best decision that I made, not leaving. And I started to become a part of the church. Now, my pastor's going to kill me. But I was on multiple auxiliaries. We all know what auxiliaries in churches are, right?
Yes.
If they had one, I was on it, and I got kicked off of every one of them. I got kicked off of every auxiliary at my church.
Sis? Why?
My attitude was bad. I got kicked off the usher board. I mean, it was horrible. I was young though, y'all. But I did. I got kicked off of it. So then my pastor, hey, Pastor Allen, he decides to put me with the youth department. Y'all, I just knew he was crazy. Who gonna put me with their kids? But he saw something that apparently I didn't see with myself, because he put me with these kids. And it was a change. I was like, oh, okay. Now these kids, and here's the thing. He didn't just put me with the members' kids. His own kid was a part of the youth group. It's one thing when somebody entrusts you with other folks' kids, because, you know, they don't really have that's somebody else's kid. If something happened, you know, plausible deniability, we didn't know. But he put his children in the youth group. And so I was like, okay, wait a minute. They trusted me with precious stuff. You know, children are precious. Yeah. You can't just let anybody with your kids because you're not always there. And you never know what they're pouring in, what they're saying, those kind of things. And so, baby, my mindset started changing. I was like, okay, these kids are watching me. You know, I can't be angry all the time. I can't be rude all the time. Now, mind you, it took some years for all that to go away. But in front of the kids, I realized that I had to change my way of thinking. I had to change my mindset, and I had to change the way I interacted with other people because these kids were looking at me. Now, with that being said, I have gone through about 3 cycles of kids. Nia was one of them.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot of my kids now have kids of their own, and I've messed with their kids, and I'm still Glennette, and I know I just started rambling, but go ahead.
Sis, it's good, man. So, yeah, share your story, man. I've definitely learned a lot about you that I didn't know. Yeah. I've been there at the beginning of the year, so knowing you all these years doing poetry and spoken word, but the other side of you, I'm learning. I know you mentioned having an 8th grade education. Yeah. Also mentioning the book that you wrote and said it took you 7 years. Mm-hmm. In your reading, in regards to reading and writing, you wrote the book entitled "Some Hurts Are Beyond Tears: The Memoirs of a Foster Child." Share with us the story of how that book came to life. Okay. So we all know, of course, that I had been, you know, they say journal, you know. People tell you, well, psychiatrists and therapists tell you to journal because that's a way of getting all that out on paper. I personally don't like journaling because who wants to relive all that stuff that you have to. But I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a try. So, you know, I would write or whatever when I felt really bad. Then one day, I'm going to tell you what really kick-started me into doing this. In 2014, I was at church. Everything happens to me in church, y'all. It's a great place. You should go. But anyway, so I was in church. Silly, man. And I used to be on our dance ministry at church. I didn't get kicked off of that because I was older when I got on that. And so, but I talked a lot. I always talk. I have always been a talker. I used to get in trouble at school for talking. On my report card, they say refrain from unnecessary talking. Usually does not. And then they would try and move me. I'd be like, it don't matter where you move me, I'm going to talk, you know. So I'm a talker. So this particular Sunday, I was talking. I was just a talking. The preacher was up on the stage, and he was talking to the mothers, and I was just a talking to the people next to me. Now, they wouldn't talk back, but they didn't stop me from talking. I was just a gabbing. And every time he looked the other way, I would stop. You know, hey, can't see me. So Bishop Todd Hall. And anybody know he gonna call you out, whatever. Yes, but I didn't think he saw me talking. So I was talking, so he stopped and he said
to the young lady that's been talking the whole time I've been talking, what's your name? I was devastated because I knew my pastor was going to kill me because now I done got called out over the pulpit. So I turned around to look to see who he was talking to because he couldn't have been talking to me, right? And I was turning around with everybody else because, you know, they tell you, turn around and nobody will know they're talking to you. So I had this big old afro, and he said, you, the lady with all the hair. So I was like, oh my God. So I told him my name. To make a long story short, he prophesied to me. And he prophesied this book, this play that I had been working on forever that nobody knew about. It's not like, you know, social media was big then and I was putting everything on it. Because, you know, I'd be like, how do you know? Who you been talking to? No. And I was like, I was crying. I was ugly crying. You know, tears, snot, all that stuff. Not attractive at all. But that was like a clarion call for me. So I started writing. And, of course, all the nightmares and stuff came back. But I was like, that's all right. I'm going to pray about this. I got this lady. Her name is Glennette McDonald. She's a editor, ghostwriter, all that. And she helped me through the process, you know. A praying woman. She prayed for me. She talked about me. She held me accountable. And so we got this book out. It was hard. It took about 2 years from the first time where I started writing to the editing process to the getting the book cover, coming up with the name. Let me tell you about this name. I'm a dreamer, right? And if I doze off, I start dreaming right away because I have what you call insomnia. And so I don't automatically go into the REM sleep and all that. No, if I close my eyes and get any kind of nod off, I start dreaming. And I dream out loud and in color. So I had a dream that I was on an Oprah Winfrey show, right? And she was interviewing me. And it was kind of like this, you know, and she was interviewing me. And she was like, this is how she did it. She was like, Glennette, I've heard your story. And where are the tears, Glennette? Where are the tears? And I was like, Oprah, some hurts are beyond tears. And I was like, wow. There goes the title to my book. Wow. So, yeah, and it might be able to, I was driving while I was daydreaming like that, you know. So, yeah. But that's how the book and the name came through.
Wow. Going back to the book, what do you feel like young women would gain or take away from reading this book?
I think that they would take away that it doesn't matter what has happened to you in life. It doesn't matter how far down you think you've fallen. You don't have to stay there. You can use those stones that were thrown at you as stepping stones instead of a grave. Yeah. You know, you don't let people bury you with the rocks of your past.
That's good.
You take those stones and you walk up out of that pit. You know, and that's what I feel like that I have done, and hopefully by people reading that, they understand that through everything that I've gone through, when I could have laid down and died or gave up, hung myself, whatever, you know, however I could have taken myself out of this life, right? That you got to surround yourself with a firm foundation. And when I say a firm foundation, I'm talking about people around you. I agree. You have to make sure, I make sure that the people that I surround myself with are smarter than me. You know, and I think that I'm kind of smart, you know what I'm saying? But you have to make sure that you surround yourself with people that won't allow you to stay stagnant.
That's good.
You know, they're going to pull you. They're going to hold you accountable. They're going to make you grow. And if you're the smartest person in your group, there's a problem. Because nobody is going to, you know, iron sharpens iron. That's what the Bible says. And if I'm the only iron in the bank, you know, I'm going to get dull. Yeah. You know, there are two type of people. The people that pull you down or the people that pull you out. And you want to make sure that you surround yourself with the people that are going to pull you out. They're going to say, Glennette, I'm going to need you to do something else because that ain't, you know, that ain't it. You know, when my attitude get bad, I'm going to need you to change that because that ain't working. Yeah. People are watching you. You know, I don't need somebody that's going to be like, yeah, girl, that's what I'm talking about. We're going to roll on them. Yeah. No, you know, I left that in the bag. We don't need to roll on them that way. Yeah. You know, so you want to make sure that your foundation is firm and that people are going to encourage you. Yeah. And that they're not jealous, envious, because a lot of times as women, I'm not a man, so I don't know about y'all.
It's a lot of ego for men.
But as women, intimidation is a factor in how we handle each other. And you have to realize that there's no need to be intimidated. There's enough food out there for us all to eat.
That's good.
And I want you to eat with me. I don't want to always feed you. I want you to feed me sometimes,
That's good, sis.
And so we have to, that's what I want people to realize, that we as women, we're a sisterhood. I may not agree with everything that you do, but I'm going to be there for you.
That's
and
good.
Everything that I do is in love. I'm not hating. I'm not envious. I want you to win. Because if you win, I win. If I win, we all win.
That's good.
It's as simple as that.
That's good, sis. That's good. Yeah, I'm really, really big on community, man, building community. Going back to the word, it tells us in the multitude of counsel there's safety. Mm-hmm. So we got to ask ourselves, are the people around me a safe space for me to even be around?
Exactly.
So, no, I definitely agree with that. Share with the people, man. Where can we find this great book? What platforms?
Listen, you can find it on Amazon. Yes, on Amazon, y'all. Amazon is the thing. I love me some Amazon.
My goodness.
But yes, you can find it on Amazon, or you can call me, find me on Facebook. I think I got some at home, but we can get it in your hand. One way or another, we can get it there.
Oh, my goodness. Are there any upcoming projects in regards to poetry events or books that we can look forward to?
I'm actually, it's funny that you should ask that, because I'm actually in the process of turning the book into a stage play.
Wow.
I'm a big theater person. I love theater. And so, I'm working on turning Some Hurts Are Beyond Tears into a stage play. So we going 2025, you're going to see us on the stage. So get ready, save your coins, get ready to buy your tickets. If you like to act, be holding auditions, Yeah.
Okay, that's dope. I know you mentioned earlier in the episode being nervous, being afraid in order to public speak and like, should I do this? Should I do this or not? Can you share a personal experience where you faced a significant challenge while speaking, and how did you handle that?
Definitely I can. Listen, I was at church. I told y'all everything be happening at church to me, right?
My goodness.
I know, right? And it was a Sunday morning. And we all know that that's when we come to church on Sunday mornings. We be dressed out, But it was a special Sunday morning. I can't remember what it was, but it was a bunch of people. And I knew this poem. I had practiced, and I knew it like I know the backside of my hand. Because my pastor said, I want you to do a spoken word
right
on a Sunday morning. And I was like, oh, he's asking me to do something on a Sunday morning. So I'm like, okay. So I get out there, and I'm looking, and it's all these people out there. I close my eyes because, I just get nervous. Baby, I looked. I met somebody's eyes, they met my eyes, and I forgot everything that I was going to say. In the middle of my poem, I forgot every word. I couldn't get it back. Couldn't get right. I was embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. I cried for an hour after that, an hour. And then I didn't do any public speaking for like 6 months. Wow. And then Sister Otanya, pastor's wife, hey, Sister Otanya, she was like, girl, you going to get up and you going to do this. It was something that she was putting together, some kind of brunch, luncheon, whatever. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put myself back out there. I done already embarrassed myself, forgot what I was supposed to say.
Yeah.
And she wanted me to do the same poem. Listen, I think I almost left the church over that because I was scared and I was nervous and I just knew that it was going to happen again. And but she would not let it go. That falls back to what I say. Make sure you surround yourself with people that are going to pull you up and hold you accountable.
Yeah. Because
she was not taking no for an answer. So 6 months later, I got back up. I did the poem. And I rocked it, y'all. I rocked it. I was like, hey.
So with the hand claps, my engineer over there.
So yeah, that was one of the worst and the best things that happened to me. Because I honestly think that sometimes we get so caught up in what we're doing. Oh, that was me. I can do this. I got this. And that's how I was feeling that morning. I was like, oh, I got this. I'm going to go out and I'm going to rock it. And God will knock you down a peg or two so that you realize that what you do is not in your strength, but it's in His, and it's for Him, not for you.
That's
and
good.
so I think that's what happened. And after that, I made sure that it was never about me again. I was like, let me pray before I get. And yeah, so that was it.
Okay, that's a good breakdown. We got some questions from the audience.
Oh, okay.
See what they got for us.
You're awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for your energy. Thank you for sharing with the community. And I was just wondering, we have programs here at our library. What can you bring to our teens that we can benefit from?
Now, when you say, what can I bring?
Yes, like things you could train our teens. I'm not going in depth like the training that you do for your job.
Oh, I got you
Like the
now.
spoken word. And
Yes. So, one of the things that I tell my kids at church, I'm over the fine arts department, and a lot of times we do the programs, Christmas, Easter, things like that. And when I first started, the kids, the parents would make them do it. You're going to come, you're going to do it, we dropping you off, we'll be back. Now what I'm finding is that parents are like, if they want to, they can, but what they're not understanding and what I try and tell them is that when these kids do poetry or get up in front of churches and read poems or do things for Black history, it's not something just for now, but it carries them into adulthood. Public speaking, you're going to have to do public speaking all the time. When you go to interviews, you have to learn how to speak their language, So trying it now, attempting to do it now, learning the process of getting up in front of somebody, your posture, how you dictate, the words that you say. It's going to help you get that job. It's going to help you in careers. And if you don't ever try it, you don't know if you do like it. And so I think that the experience that I bring, not in just the public speaking, but in navigating things that I had to learn on my own, how to write a resume, how to pay a bill. When I turned 18 and I was put out of the foster care system, I didn't know how to, I had street smarts. I knew how to get a meal. I knew how not to be hungry, but I didn't know how to make a bed. I didn't know how to iron clothes. I didn't know how to deal with my credit, not to write hot checks, because they put you in jail for doing it now. Back then they just put it on your credit. But and that your credit is important. But not only is your credit important, your word is important. We need to teach our young people that your word is your bond. They say that on the street, but it's true. Because at the end of the day, sometimes your word and your reputation is all that you have. You may not have money, you may not have clout, you may not have the clothes, but your word can get you a long way.
That's good.
Especially when people know that you're good for it. Sometimes your word and reputation is better than money because it'll get you in doors that money will not. So, and I think that, I can teach y'all that.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that?
And next one is, I heard just a bit about the play that you're taking auditions and stuff for. What's the name of the play?
Well, the play is called Some Hurts Are Beyond Tears. It's based off the book that I wrote. And we're in the beginning stages of it. I think that theater, especially in the Black community, is an awesome thing. I loved reading about when I used to go to the library when I got in trouble at school. I would read August Wilson, Langston Hughes, Alice Walker. These people are like legends, and their work lasts forever, it seems like. And so I think that theater brings community together, in my personal opinion. And it teaches you camaraderie. It teaches you how to take criticism. Because what I have found is there have been times that I have auditioned for stuff, and I got a resounding no. And I was crushed, because a lot of times I'll be like, what's wrong with me? Why don't nobody want me to be in their stuff? But what I have realized is that you learn more from a no than you do from a yes.
Yeah.
You learn how that it's not the end of the world. It's not going to kill you. Go back and do better and come back better than ever. So sometimes we feel like, hey, I got this, but we really don't, because we don't take it serious enough. And so that no will knock you down and show you that, okay, maybe I need to do something a little different, go a different direction, and you come back stronger. So we have to teach our kids that no is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a learning experience, because yes is what yes do. It doesn't show you anything. It just says, okay, you can do it, but it doesn't really show you more than a no will.
Yeah.
And one last one. Would you be willing to host a spoken word contest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be. You just let me know what you want, when you want it, I'm there.
Right.
I think I can bring some people too.
Yeah, I know you know some people.
Yes, ma'am.
This isn't really a question, it's just a comment. I noticed that you said initially and before we started the podcast that sometimes you get a little nervous and your anxiety gets the best of you, so you have to regroup in your head. But what I see in all of this is that you're very comfortable speaking. You said, I love to talk. I talk all the time. And you're very comfortable.
Yeah.
It's just a natural thing for you. So I guess my thought is maybe because it's so natural for you to do it, I guess there is a question, do you think that that's what helps you with poetry and spoken word? Because you are just a natural conversation.
And that's the difference, though. I can talk all day. I can talk with somebody, and I talk so much that people be like, Glennette. I mean, really. Listen. But it's a difference, I think, when I'm talking and conversing versus I'm getting up there, I'm putting something out there, and people are staring at me. Because I'm engaging with people now. I'm talking. But when I think the thing is when I get up there and I perform something, it's like all eyes are on me. And I like feel them eyes even through the computer. I'm telling you I do. And so, but once I get over that first initial hump, then I'm kind of okay. I'll be like, okay, hey, you either going to like me, love me, or cut me off. Either way.
That's good. Any more? Engineer, you got something for us over there? I'm looking at you. Okay.
Are you thinking about having your own podcast?
I was just a finna.
So,
go ahead, Jack.
I do have my own podcast. It's called Broken for Purpose. Everything is, y'all can see everything is called Broken for Purpose. And I started my podcast in 2021, I think it was. Yeah. But I started it because I got invited to talk about my book. And then I was like, oh, you should start a podcast. Then I was like, oh, okay, I should. But then I didn't realize that podcasts cost money because airtime costs money, right? For that hour, they want your money. And I was like, wait a minute. They was like, well, you can get sponsors and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. Sorry, y'all. So then I met Troilus Gilmore. He is over Spotlight Media. And he was like, Glennette, you should really, come over here. We can work, do a podcast. And so at this time, it was during COVID. And I had like 3 jobs. So it was a little easier to pay for the airtime. And so I had budgeted it in. But then, COVID came to an end, and them jobs that I needed, them other 2, I couldn't do no more. And so I had that one job because I worked at a psych hospital overnight. Y'all, that's a whole different story. But, and so I went on hiatus for a little while. But I really enjoyed the podcast. I had guests like this, and it was really, to answer your question, who asked that question? You did. I'm sorry. Now y'all see why I don't talk, because I just be like
That's
everywhere.
funny.
But yes, I do have a podcast, and I'm working on bringing it back, and I co-host a podcast, and with you, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly. We all on the same team. Shout out to Troy, man.
Hey, Troy.
What's up, Troy?
Hi, Keith.
What's up, my brother Keith in the audience? My
I
God.
love it.
ODY alumni.
Let me tell you something. Now I'm about to talk. I know y'all gonna cut me off, but he me and Keith used to work together with the drama department at the church.
Oh, wow.
When I tell
Not the drama department.
listen, when I tell you that me and Keith bumped heads like this all the time,
My
but I
goodness.
love him. He's my brother. He think he know more than me.
Oh my goodness.
Just a little, he thinks so, but that's okay. I love you though.
Going back to communication.
Mm-hmm.
How do you define effective communication, and why is it important in both personal and professional contexts?
So I describe, did you say effective communication?
Mm-hmm.
That is being able to get your point across to me personally without making somebody feel less than, without all the hollering, the screaming, mature communication is effective communication to me. So personally, if I have a problem with you, effective communication is me coming to you in a mature way, letting you know, look, such and such is, it's not working for me. What can we do to squash the situation or make the situation better?
Right.
Professionally, the same way. Being able to communicate without losing my job. That's effective communication to me.
Oh, okay. Well, we're putting a wrap on. I appreciate you, big sis, hopping on the show, being our first guest for our first series, November series, Poetry in Motion, man.
I love it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you being on. I've learned a lot about you today that I didn't know. But yeah, we're gonna put a wrap on this, man. This is Ordinary Conversations with Extraordinary People with your host, Willie Beeman. We have another amazing guest for you guys next week. Chris, a.k.a. No One Bradford, man, who's definitely a dynamic speaker. He's worked with Mike Gwynn and a lot of other poets. And so we appreciate you guys being on. Be with us, man, every Wednesday at 12 p.m. We're streaming live. Come be a part of our community. Come be a part of what we're doing. We're doing things here. And I do want to close with this. One thing that my big sis, Rita, always says is that the library is more than a building with books. And so we do a lot of amazing things here, man. But that's it. This is your host, the most, Willie Beeman. We are signing off. Peace.
And hair grease.
Hair grease.